Hello my friends from the fog! Welcome! We are going to be doing a quick little video about the new Billy and different playstyles to play with and against him, and I just thought I would give a quick little tutorial and kind of, since he's very much changed since his new update, just kind of show you guys what are some things that you can keep an eye out for and make sure to kind of think about when you're going against him in your future matches. Alright, so what we have right now is essentially going to be a match of some things that I do and some. I know that there will be some benefit to me having windows so I can showcase this better about how many pallets are on this map, and there you kind of get the gauge of it. This is why this is a good perk to bring in every now and again, especially on a new map, to kind of gauge, is this a map with a lot of windows, is this a map with a lot of pallets. Going against Billy, I notice a lot of people will just drop pallets every chance they get. Now I did drop this pallet, and I did camp these ones. I don't necessarily usually recommend, and I wasn't going to drop that one until he walked through it, because then I knew I could drop it and stun him out of his power, and that would be kind of a benefit. But I didn't want to drop all of my pallets in kind of an area, so we just left. We saw there was a safe window, we were going to make it, we did. One of the reasons I thought I would throw him off and run over here is because this is a really sharp angle for Billies to turn, and when they do have like that crystallized, like their overcharge, so crystallized sound, like this sound right here, they do turn faster and easier, but they don't really get all of that, like such a sharp angle, especially if they've already done a bit of the curving. So I just felt like it was safer for me to go up and around because I was confident I was going to make it. And I tell you, he jump scared me here. I don't know why. I didn't expect him to go from that route, but I didn't. Now, when I was on this pallet, I figured that I would just drop it. He's not somebody that I'm noticing while I'm watching him play in this game, where he's breaking pallets constantly, so I figured that that would be a pretty safe pallet to return to, if necessary, and to kind of be greedy about it. And just like how when I got that flashy save upstairs and I tried to blind him a second time, when I realized that I had accidentally brought him over to the Nia, unfortunately I didn't have bond, I was trying to do the same here. That's probably the only reason why I dropped this pallet, other than the fact that it's not like super safe. I would have returned over to the theater because I probably would have made it that far, but knowing that Nia was injured and nearby, I didn't want to risk it. And so I was hoping that maybe I could get the blind and give her a little bit of time to run away, which luckily she did either way, which, you know what, that's awesome. And now we're going to make sure that we are hiding behind a rock or a tree or something for our teammates to be able to heal us up and make sure that we're safe. Now, if you see here and you see how there's the tree and then there's the rock and there's kind of a little gap in between, a lot of the times when you're looping him, you're going to want to do a full, like, loop all the way around the rock. But if you're on like a flat end and he's expecting you to loop around the rock and you just kind of walk backwards against the rocks, like the opposite direction you were running before, which you will see later on in the video, sometimes that can be a great way to loop on something that's really small. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to run over to that specific like rock area to get healed, was one, so I'm not a direct hit, but then also so that way I could have a better chance at doing a full. Sorry, I got distracted. I was a second too early for that flashy save, but that's pretty much the reason why I am very careful about where I will get healed against a Billy, and a lot of killers that can put you across the knee. One of the reasons why I did drop this pallet is because I know that it is safer against a Billy if it is already down, but when I know he doesn't have low proteins, I'm not too concerned about what I do. Now, this is really important for me to mention. The loop that I just had where I kind of zigzagged, you know, I went one way, did almost like a figure eight. He's going to try to mind game me and cut me off. And so if I do something he's not going to expect, I have a really good chance of being a-okay. Because he's going to swerve the other direction. He did not expect me to make a really weird play. And I'm still alive. Now, the play that I just did where I kind of ran into him and out, that does not always work at all. That doesn't always, it's really just per chase / per Billy. And since he wasn't in his overcharge, I was pretty confident I was going to make that one. I noticed that that was one of the only pallets in that area, so I decided to just hold W. And as you'll see here, it was not a bad call at all. Because he still headed to me, but now we have an extra pallet off somewhere else, and I know that this area always spawns a bunch of really unsafe pallets. Now, one of the things we did when we dropped that pallet earlier while he was revving his chainsaw is that we trained him to think that we were going to be dropping pallets on his face, which is why he swung through the pallet. And that's when you get greedy. When you know that you've kind of made it seem like you play a certain way and you switch it up, you're more likely to get really good plays out of them. Like really good plays out of, your pallets, whatever you're trying to do, than anything else. Like this one. He was expecting us to get greedy. And we made it look like we were going to be greedy, but we were not. Just like I said before, we're going to kind of do a figure 8 zigzag. He's going to kind of get confused on what we're doing and not be able to get us here. With 2 gens left, and when we ran previously, we knew that there were some pallets nearby. We just dropped this one. It's the safer option. And then now we're going to hope that he goes for us, because in all honesty, nope, he went for someone else. So we fast forward this. Honestly, if you got flashbang and the killer's not on you or you're not death hook or anything, with 2 gens left, you might as well fast forward it. It saves you time. Keeping an eye out on who's death hook and who's not. With deadlock, I was like, okay, Feng, I know that you're death hook. Give a little nodders of approval. We were going to hide here to maybe try to get a flashbang save, but also because we didn't want to get one shot if he just zoomed over. Because he could have zoomed over with his power, which obviously we could hear he didn't, but it's a good practice to have. He could zoom over and he could just one-shot us right then and there, so that's a harder angle for him to get us at. It's not always the safest option. Now here's one of the examples of how I was talking about just pre-dropping pallets every 3 seconds. She's death hook, so it's not bad for her to be just dropping ASAP. Now here's what I'm talking about. See how he's got to make the curve, and we are on a picnic table. I think that was our safest bet, or safest option. Now here's where we'll do our, I don't know, I guess you could call it the Crazy 8 tech of sorts. We're just gonna kind of Crazy 8 tech this dude. This time, of course, we're probably not gonna make the pallet, then we don't go for it. If you do not think you're gonna make it against a Billy, you do not go for it. You do something that seems really dumb. Run to the right, then quickly run to the left. So that way when he starts curving to the right, because they're pretty strong and it's pretty hard to handle, the Billy. So you curve straight to the right, and then you quickly turn to the left. He's probably already programmed himself to turn to the right, and now you're safe. So that's just a few extra tips that I thought I would bring up, just kind of thinking as the killer. And I know that I'm probably not going to make this, but I would much rather be there, be ready to distract him or take a hook, since I am, I have 0 hooks and I'm completely healthy. And I wanted to make sure that here I'm positioning myself to a spot where he can't necessarily one-shot me, but I'm not looping him around the pallet just yet. I like to avoid running so he doesn't get his bloodlust pretty much as soon as I can. You'll notice that another thing that Billies will do, since they have their overcharge, I think it's overcharge or overclock. I'll just call it overcharge, since they have their overclocking, overcharge power, and the little crystallizing effect you'll hear when he's in it, is that they do move faster, and they do curve a little bit better. Obviously, all of this is depending on add-ons, but that also means that he can be harder to control. And so, as much as it might be a little bit scarier when they are faster, sometimes doing that trick of the Crazy 8s, or going left to right, kind of switching it up, might be your best bet. Now, something important here to note is these rocks can sometimes be extremely deadly to go against the Billy. So something to keep an eye out for. So notice how he was expecting her to go around the rock and to kind of hold the rock. So if she'd have done, kind of a Crazy 8 kind of mindset where she's like, okay, let me quickly swing outwards, just as I know that he's throwing his chainsaw down, it'll be a lot harder for him to control. And sometimes you just back up, you do that, you'll see later on, or you hold outwards. And it'll usually happen like that on any rock. Like if I'd have held that picnic table and I'd have been out, he'd have been able to hit me via the edge of the picnic table. So this is editing curve, just wanted to clarify. So if you are going around a rock, let's say you're going clockwise around the rock, and he's following behind you, he starts revving his chainsaw, he pulls it up, and then just as he's about maybe a few seconds before, whatever you feel like after a bit of practice might be the perfect timing, you quickly go to the left instead of right, like you've been running around the rock. You might be able to FOV tech of some sort or dodge his chainsaw entirely. Does it work 100% of the time? No, but it is something I find to be very effective and very usable in a situation where you might just be dead anyways based off of where you are located. But yeah, just wanted to make sure that I added that and kind of clarified what I was trying to get across. Any other important things I think should note about Billy? Oftentimes he has a few different add-ons, but since it's really hard, especially if you're not like, thousands of hours into the game, it's really hard to pay attention to their add-ons. The only add-ons I think that are worth remembering is there's two. There's one that might make him undetectable when you're outside of his terror radius, I believe, and then one that's when you're inside of his. I don't know, there's just an add-on that affects his terror radius, so you don't have to necessarily know what it's called and know exactly what it does. But when you're trying to call out perks, it's good to know that Billy has that add-on, because he may not have Tinkerer, and he may be able to get you when you least expect it, if that makes sense. And the other one is low pro chains. And that one lets him use his chainsaw through a pallet, and he gets to still hit you after the pallet. He will only injure you, unless you're already injured, then you will get downed, of course. But my biggest thing is knowing those two add-ons are really good to be able to kind of gauge how he might play and kind of what his things are. Because if you've got low pro chains, you're going to have to grade a little bit differently, or maybe even not at all. Hopefully you guys enjoyed a little bit of these tidbits. Maybe hopefully they made sense. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them down below or to join the Discord, and I can definitely elaborate further. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I really appreciate your support. Take care, everybody.